Welcome to Thought for the Day. My name is Graham and I'm a reader here in the parish of Portishead. Wimbledon, the Olympics and Paralympics, they've all come and gone. And the football season is well and underway. Just as in our own lives, there always seems to be something that we humans are striving for with varying levels of intensity. Competition plays an important part in our lives, and in all competition there are winners and losers. Invariably, there are far more losers than there are winners, as the fans of every club in the Premier Football League other than Manchester City will agree, as they seem to dominate the football world. I watched a lot of the Olympics on TV this year, and my attention was drawn to those who don't earn medals. I was particularly interested to watch those who were expected to succeed but fell short. My attention was again drawn to those who finish fourth, just failing to claim a tangible reward for their incredible efforts to get that far. For some, the heartache was palpable, but for others who had exceeded expectations, they took comfort from giving their all, and many achieving a personal best. For athletes, loss could be viewed as a learning process, part of their journey and development. In a recent sermon, one of my fellow readers pointed out that around 97% of the athletes competing in the Olympics fail to earn a medal. One can only hope that their reward comes from being selected to represent their country, because many try and don't even get into the team. Losing is rarely a pleasant experience, but it is part of life, and we all deal with it in our own way. That led me to ponder what the Bible teaches us about loss and how we might learn from it. In the parable of the lost coin in Luke chapter 15 verses 8 to 10, Jesus teaches us that we are valued equally in the sight of God, and he will see to it that not one of his followers will be lost. When one goes astray and is later recovered by God, there is cause for rejoicing and celebration. A similar tale in some ways to that of the lost sheep. The loss of things can be upsetting and annoying, but losing someone we love is a whole new territory to negotiate. In Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1, we are reminded that there is a time for every activity under heaven. Now that does not make the pain of loss any easier, but it reminds us of the circle of life, a time to be born and a time to die. As Christians, we place our trust in God's promise of overcoming death, as Jesus did and to be with him in eternal life. I often try to imagine the sense of loss that the disciples must have experienced as they witnessed Jesus going to his death on the cross. Even though he'd told them what he would have to suffer, none of them could have foreseen the horror of what was happening to their leader, the one they had been following for years, who they loved and they knew to be the Son of God. The sense of loss and hopelessness must have been overwhelming in the immediate aftermath of his death. Would they, I wonder, at that moment remember what he had told them, that he would rise again in 3 days? I suspect their grief would have driven that far from their minds at that time. What they experienced when they met the risen Christ must have been a sense of pure, unbridled joy. And I like to think that they may have had time later to reflect on these events and Christ's teaching. And as time went by, they would have understood much of what he had said. What we know with the teaching of our Bible is that he did indeed rise in glory, overcoming the greatest loss, death itself. Our faith is our source of hope, even at times of loss. I often turn to the verses in Proverbs chapter 23, verse 18. There is surely a future hope for you, and your hope will not be cut off. The good news is that unlike the would-be Olympians who didn't quite make the grade, we are all equally important parts of God's winning team. I leave you today with the words from Mark's Gospel, chapter 8, verses 35 to 38. For those who want to save their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake and for the sake of the gospel will save it. For what will it profit them to gain the whole world and forfeit their life? Go well.